All right, the next thing that we're going to look at is something called powers of monomials, which is when we have an exponent, something with an exponent, raised to another exponent. Okay, and so the rule there is we're going to multiply those exponents. Okay, so x squared to the 8th powers is x to the 2 times 8, or x to the 16th power. All right, same thing here. We have double variables, but still the same process. So m gets raised to the 9 times 4, and n gets raised to the 5 times 4. So that gives me m to the 36, n to the 20th power. Okay, then when we throw coefficients in there, okay, the coefficients get raised to that power just like normal, and then we add the exponents. So I want you to think of this as like two separate problems. So we have 5 squared, okay, and then we also have x to the 7th squared. All right, so 5 squared is 25. X to the 7th squared is x to the 14th, because 7 times 2 is 14. Okay. If you are going to use Desmos, which I highly recommend to do, like if you don't know what -3 to the 3rd power is, I would use Desmos. Just make sure that you put that -3 in parentheses. So in Desmos, the way I would type this is -3 parentheses to the 3rd, to make sure that it gives you the correct sign. So -3 to the 3rd power is going to be -27. X squared to the 3rd is x to the 6th, because 2 times 3 is 6. All right, the other thing is, what happens when we have negative exponents? Okay, answers that are simplified do not have negative exponents, so we rewrite this as a fraction, and it would be 1 over x to the whatever power. Okay, so x to the -5th is going to be 1 over x to the 5th. Okay, now when they put a coefficient there, all right, the coefficient does not move with the variable. Okay, so m to the -2 is 1 over m squared, but I still have this 3 on top. So this actually simplifies to 3 over m squared. Okay, the coefficient does not go to the denominator with the variable. Okay. So like here, I have -7, a to the 4th, b to the 3rd. The only thing I'm moving to the bottom of the fraction is the a to the 4th. So the -7, b to the 3rd stays on top, and then a to the 4th goes to the bottom to make that exponent positive. Okay. So now we're going to put together the different rules that we have learned, okay? Make sure you pay special attention to this hint here. We're going to use the rules, so simplify as much as possible to where you get down to just one of each variable. Like this has 2 w's right now. We want to get it down to 1 w, and then if we need to move things because of the negative exponents, we'll do that at the end. All right, so w to the 7th times w to the -9. All right, I'm multiplying, so I'm going to add those two exponents together. So 7 plus -9 gives me -2. And then I can't leave a negative exponent as my answer, so I'm going to write that as 1 over w squared. Okay, same idea here. Now we have multiple exponents, or multiple variables. So 4 times 5 is 20. All right, c to the 8th times c to the -5th. 8 plus -5 is +3. All right, and then for d, I have -3 plus -1, so that's -4. Okay, so the 20 c to the 3rd can stay on the top because it is already positive. And then I'm going to move d to the bottom so that it becomes +4. All right, now I'm going to skip around a little bit to get to all the different types of problems. So number 11, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is raise everything to the -2nd power. Okay, so 6 to the -2nd is 1 over 36. Again, you should use Desmos for that. All right, x to the fifth. So now all this stuff, I'm going to, for now, put it on the top, and then we can move it if we want to. So x to the fifth to the negative second, negative 5 times, or 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And then negative 4 times negative 2 for y is positive 8. So that means that my x to the negative 10 needs to move down to the bottom of the fraction to make it have a positive exponent. So the 1 now, I don't need to keep writing. You can write 1y to the 8th, but that's the same thing as y to the 8th. Okay, and now on the bottom, I have 36x to the 10th, and that would be my final simplified answer. All right, here's a division problem. So we'll try this one, okay? Remember division, the rule is we're going to subtract exponents. So negative 2 minus 7 is negative 9. And then negative 1 minus negative 2 is the same thing as negative 1 plus 2. So that becomes positive 1, which I don't need to write. Okay, now my c has a negative exponent, so I'm going to put it underneath, and that would be my simplified answer.